It's been very interesting when it comes to, posting, whether, it's writing or talking about critical thinking on this platform or others. When we start to get our points proven on the lack of critical thought. I have so many individuals who love to be able to say, well, it's not, critical thinking is just a buzzword, and intelligence analysts, they, that you, if you tell them to think critically, you're wrong, or you're off base. Well, I find it interesting that we live in this time with so much noise, but yet so much information at our fingertips. Now, I'll caveat information with some caution, right? Because do we know if it's misinformation, disinformation, propaganda? When you look at videos that are edited, you don't get the full context. You don't even get the substance. It's a framing, right? That it does matter that we talk about critical thought. I too often myself jump to conclusions. That's why I'm a student of critical thought. That's why I do my own writing and research and reading, because I want to improve myself. And that's really what I think it comes down to is I'm learning on how to better be as an individual, to be able to know that, okay, I want to have conversations with people, and I want to have the right conversations. It's not that I have to be correct, or I even want you to be correct. It's, can we live happier? I think a lot of people are happier when we can get through the noise and be able to have a dialogue that is not steeped in ambiguity and definitional misnomers. When we look at, like, the man on the street, woman on the street dialogues and video clips, all too often I see individuals that they want to argue, yes, the semantics. Therefore, the conversation is already over. We can't have actual conversations when individuals don't even want to really just, let's not emotionally invest ourselves so much that it comes down to, well, you're Republican or you're conservative or you're a leftist. If we can, I know people who are on both sides of the aisle, and it's wonderful when we can sit down and have a conversation, even a political one that is not steeped in an argument. And I mean the emotional argument. That's why I post a lot about argumentation from the logic and the rhetoric standpoint. That, how are we framing an argument? How are we talking about an argument? And I'm talking the fallacies that, and the negativities, the positivities of argumentation. And I just want you all to be better. So I love when we post as individuals that we have a thought and we post it and we want to make it known. I mean, we have to have thick skin. We know there's going to be negativity associated with anything that anybody says. But I find it very interesting that the ones who give the negative attributes to a post are the ones often that they prove the point that they're not able to have an actual conversation, because they'll quit back with something witty, um, or a one word response, and yet they follow somebody who's talking about, yes, being a better person, um, especially when it comes to religion, politics. We always say hands off some of this stuff. What Why does it have to be? Um, we can come up with the receipts. We can have statistics. We can be able to show or talk about, well, hold on. I hear what you're saying, but before I can really respond completely, accurately, let me find some of my supporting evidence. And that's what I love about being able to post and wait for the responses. Um, I don't want to waste my energy, and I don't think you want to waste your energy as well with someone who just constantly has to feel like they are superior because they're insecure about having a conversation. Yes, when I write, and you notice on my Substack, I post about every 3 days because I constantly have drafts of work. Um, and I am massaging those. I'm researching. I'm reading those, and that's what I want you to do. I invite a discussion, a dialogue of opposing viewpoints. Um, some individuals who support me um, are able to have that conversation, and I love the other individuals who post as well um, on the subject matter because it's a different perspective, and I honor that. And that's where I look at each one of us as individuals. We have the ability through our lived experiences to provide some enlightenment. I think, and I posted, oh gosh, a couple weeks ago, where I really felt, even though we're have AI, we have computerization, large language models, and we're on the verge of quantum computing, that information flows at our fingertips in a nanosecond, and yet people don't use it. It's disheartening that we have that capability, but yet we're not using it. I know that a lot of my writings are not they're more nichey, if you will. But I want individuals to maybe take, even if it's just a little bit. Um, so let me get back to, so a couple weeks ago I posted about, in this world of AI, it's almost like we're back to the dark ages because people don't want to think. They don't want to do the research. Um, they want to offer their perspective, but at a cost of the individuals listening to them because they're really banking on that. Well, I'm going to get my point or my perspective across, even though it is not educated. And when I say educated, I'm not talking about that you have to have letters behind your name to show that you have a bachelor's or a master's or certifications or a doctorate. Um, this is where today, this is why this is coming along. Um, I I teach doctoral studies, and I have a lot of my individual students who are on a path to gain a doctorate who want that title of doctor. People, when they hear the word doctor or see PhD or doctorate behind someone's name, there is a level of trust, but I also see that level of trust being diminished because, unfortunately, they still have no reason. See, you hear the buzzwords: logic, rhetoric, reason, critical thought, perspective, but there's the reason that we talk like that is because they are definitions of information that we can learn about how to do something better, like better reasoning. Well, is it asking more questions? Is it providing or even if it's having the Socratic method, asking more questions or asking questions of yourself for better questioning. Um, I mean, we can ask the who, what, where, when, and why, but are we actually getting anywhere? So, I just wanted to kind of come on really quick and provide just a little bit more information, if you will, of where I'm coming from. And I really do hope I hear from you all as well on what you think. And no pun intended. Um, but I do. I want to hear what your thoughts on where are we going as a society. Do we see threats? Do we see uh, misinformation, disinformation? Are we able to get through the noise? How does one live a happier mental life? I mean, and we also see, yes, mental health is a significant problem, but we also look at the education systems that we're not teaching logic of real reasoning, because there's just some people you can't reason with, and that's regardless of political and religious affinities, even economic uh, affinity, right? You don't have to be rich to be a really good thinker. You can be significantly poor, or at an economic disadvantage and still be highly educated as well as smart with your reasoning and your logic. Um, the best movie that I always thought was wonderful, and if you've never heard of it, Good Will Hunting, Matt Damon, um, and Joe Pesci, uh, and it shows a homeless man who is, taken because he's taken at face value because, well, he's homeless. And that, well, obviously, there's a great scene of a discussion between him and a professor, um, that always gets great play, if you will, on social media as small scenes. But it proves the point. It proves the point that we have to be able to think better. And this is even in mentoring others. We don't have to be, bossy or bullies, if you will. We can impart knowledge, or we want to gain knowledge from somebody by having a discussion and not just saying our piece and expecting others to take it, or us to take what somebody else says, um, and have to shake our heads and agree. I think that we don't disagree enough in the form of an actual dialogue, a discussion, a conversation, the art of conversation. In my hopes, the people that the people who support me or that I support them, unfortunately, is small, and I hope to grow it. I hope not just organically for me, but for, I think, as a global society, to see where are we going as a society? What are governments and our politicians? Do we have to worry about authoritarianism, totalitarianism? Is George Orwell's 1984 coming to fruition by what we see? And I learned something yesterday in watching how headlines, and this can go back 25, 26 years to September 11th, 2001, um, and how the media, of course, with their individuals that put together newscasts or whatever, or talking points, it's the persuasion, it's pre-suasion, not persuasion, pre-suasion. It's framing of information. So row 90, you said you got to think of how conversation and the freedom to think became a dangerous act to do now. Yes, I fear that. I see that and I fear that. One looks at uh, what comes out of, like, Great Britain, and London itself, that, or even here, words, while they may be hurtful, are not a direct threat to personal body, from harm. They're words. When we said, "Hey, sticks and stones may break our bones, but words can never hurt us." But unfortunately, we've come to this, that the cancel culture, right? That it's dangerous to think. Um, you look back at Adolf Hitler and the Socialist Party there, that they started with religion and educated. The Bolsheviks did the same things, back 20 years prior to that, that it was the thinkers, it was the professors. The only professors who survived were the ones towing the line at that time. Um, but thank gosh for people like us. We all, just by virtue of you probably listening to this, hearing this, being a part of uh, platforms like Substack, where we can write, we can speak our minds, and that it's not diatribes, right? That it's just not giving hate, right? I'm not calling people idiots. I'm not calling people morons. I just hope that individuals will continue to read and think for themselves, create a habit of questioning information from individuals and having that direct conversation. Not to necessarily be persuaded, right? I want you to be able to come to that conclusion on your own. It's very rare that I will post anything, if anything, uh, on religion or politics. It's unfortunate. I won't ever touch those. Why? Because they're emotionally charged, and individuals with their own thoughts and their opinions, their beliefs. Now, opinions and beliefs are very emotionally charged words as it is. I'm not there to change their mind. I'm not there to, especially if they're not with an open mind, to say, well, this is the way I think, and I'm not sure if it's the right way. Can you help? Look at multiple sources and take what you want away from it, but don't omit information that doesn't align to maybe your current frame of mind. That's where we find ourselves getting, I think, in trouble in this day and age. So, I need to go. So I just wanted to, again, just pop on and say hello. And I really do appreciate everyone's input. I love the dialogue here. The sun actually just kind of blurred. I can't even see um, the writing, but yes. Thank you so much for, I think that's row 90. I really appreciate that, and hope that if you already don't follow or subscribe, I will look you up later when I am on my Substack, and I will follow you. So thank you very much. You all take care. Keep thinking.